Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode 75 of Cutscene Convos. Oh, wow, wow, wow. We've got a very, very busy week this week. Are you going to get DNCA'd for that?
I don't think so. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Good. And this week we've got a character profile on Guy Gardner, Secret Invasion episode 5, Oppenhimer and Barbie. Kind of preview the right way to do it, the wrong way to do it, the do's and don't of the double feature of the decade. Bit of news on the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strikes. Some new stuff that I think we've both found out because I know we've both been paying a lot of attention to that. And then a big week for nerdy news in general before wrapping it up with the content championship, which is Return of the Jedi versus the Batman. Spicy. But before that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
Always been good. Bit busier with work. Doing some different things. Trying to think what the weekend we had the KCP lads were in London playing Apex.
They were. Did quite well.
Yeah, second playoffs. They made it into winners bracket for the first time, which was great. And then they ended up dropping into losers round 2, but then making the finals. And I think the finals went to game 7. And by game 7, there was 5 teams on match point. Because the way Apex works is like once you hit 50 points, you're then put onto match point and you have to win a game of Apex to win the whole thing. Unfortunately for us, we had if we'd had a better game 6, we also would have been on match point. But we hit match point in game 7, but then Dark Zero won, and I think we finished 6th place out of 40 teams. So
you take that
for an Apex, for a Battle Royale, 6th place is solid. Great showing from the lads, and they've already locked in their spot for the champs in a couple more months.
Birmingham now.
Yeah, they're doing that in Birmingham. Don't know why. They love the UK this year apparently. But yeah, so that was good. Other than that, just been doing some work, some other client projects.
Fun.
Yeah, picked up a bit of editing work, so that's good. And other than that, kind of just chilling, vibing. The usual, playing a bit of, because we've watched Apex, me and my mate have been playing some Apex. So this is that usual thing. You watch pros play, and you're like, I'm going to play this game now. And then you remember that,
Yeah.
Having a third random in Apex is the most frustrating thing in the world. And honestly, I remember why I stopped playing.
Yeah, I want to get back into Apex, but I'm not playing on my Xbox, and I'm not creating a brand new account with none of my skins or anything.
Until they bring
I've
cross
had my
save.
PC for coming up on 18 months now.
Yeah.
And they've been saying for a year before I got my PC that they were working on cross progression, and they've still not done it. So
good old respawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough. But I mean, overall, pretty good week for me. How's your week been in the land of the work?
Well, it's actually been quite a good week. It's been pretty busy, but we've managed to get over a couple of big hurdles that have allowed me to make the work environment and sphere a lot nicer. So it's actually kind of vibey at the minute, being able to actually crack on for a little while.
Nice, love that.
It's always good when you're not getting interrupted by other things that you weren't aware of, and you can actually just get your head down and focus on what you thought you were going to be doing the entire time.
Nice way to start back after your holidays as well.
Yes, big stuff. And then it's just been getting ready for what's going to be a busy couple of weekends, because this weekend we've got a party and then a whole day at the cinema. Then next weekend is mine and Jenna's anniversary.
Oh.
And then on Sunday we're going out to spread my grandfather's ashes.
Oh.
Do you know when you've already come to terms with something?
Yeah.
That sounds really weird.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's been a while now that you're kind of past, and you just think, but then saying that out loud, celebrating your anniversary, then doing that, it's like quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Where,
And then the weekend after that is the summer party that Jenna's family always does for her father who passed away.
right, okay.
And then the Sunday is the anniversary of her grandmother passing away. So it's a busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, heavy
It's lots
couple of weeks.
different. Yeah, it's just, and it always means you have to try and be like 3 weeks ahead on certain things. But it is what it is. But yeah, so it's busy out here. But we will crack on.
Yes.
Right, coach profile this week.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to start. Part of me was like, "Oh, something will come to you. Something normally comes to me on like Tuesday or Wednesday."
Yeah.
And obviously, we had episode 5 Secret Invasion. I was like, "It's fine. They'll introduce someone that I can do a character profile on. It's gonna be fine." And then they didn't. And they're getting from work today, and I'm like, I still do not have a character profile. So I looked at last week's notes, and I went, "Oh, we've got a couple of characters that were announced for Superman Legacy, other than Mr. Terrific, that we didn't do a character profile for. I will just do one for one of them." So our character profile this week is on Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern.
Soon to be played by Nathan Fillion.
Yes. Okay. So Guy Gardner made his first ever appearance in Green Lantern Volume 2 back in 1968.
Nice.
However, this character profile focuses on the Prime Earth post New 52 version of Guy Gardner. So it only really counts stuff that happened after 2011.
Okay.
So he was born in Maryland to a family of police officers in the Maryland Police Department. Maryland, of course, in Baltimore. Was it Baltimore, Maryland?
I don't remember which way around it is.
It's fine. We're English. We don't need to know. They think the UK is London and Manchester. Like, no one cares. I say that as like I'm classed as living in London by everyone else, and when I think of where you are, I'm like, oh, he's near Manchester.
Yeah, no, I don't worry. Yeah.
Anyway, born into the family of cops, Guy was the self-proclaimed afterthought out of the three of his siblings, as his oldest brother could do no wrong and was star of everything, and his sister was his parents' little princess. As a result, this meant there wasn't a lot of love left over for little old Guy. As a result of this, it kind of meant that Guy didn't really care when his mother died.
Savage.
He didn't feel like a mother-son connection with this woman. But it did upset, obviously, his brother and sister. And this led to his brother kind of taking it out on him for a little while, until his sister got in between them to stop it. At which point, Guy broke his arm with a baseball bat, which meant he missed the state championship in football or whatever, which just created an even bigger wedge between him and the rest of his family. Yeah. His father, who was obviously a police officer, then got discharged after getting shot from the service. And this led to him becoming a bit of an alcoholic who would just sit around all day listening to his old police scanner so that he knew what was going on. So then he joined the police force as a young man, like the rest of his family. But after he was forced to shoot a suicide bomber, and that resulted in an explosion that killed 10 innocent bystanders, he resigned. But his father, who believed in being a police officer and sticking by it no matter how difficult it gets, didn't agree with this, which just made it more difficult.
Yeah.
It broke their relationship down even further, and that wedge that's been there since birth, it just continues to get ripped further and further apart. But then after his sister's graduation, his brother tried to get him and his dad to go to a baseball game together to try and mend fences.
Right.
However, they had a massive argument at the game. His dad forced him to take him home. When he was dropping him off, he heard on his dad's old police scanner that his brother had radioed for assistance because he was being attacked by a gang.
Right.
So he's then raced over there to try and help his brother.
Mm-hmm.
His brother's partner was already dead. He pulls his brother out. He's trying to race him towards the hospital. It's not particularly clear whether his brother survives or not.
Okay.
But in this commotion and the bravery he showed, the Green Lantern ring detected him.
Oh.
And the willpower and strength it took to overcome all of the fear one might feel in that situation. So the ring sought him out. But this is where it gets even interestinger.
Nice.
Because the Guardians of Oa, of course, the big alien boys who started the Green Lantern Corps,
Mm-hmm.
had some bad interactions with human lanterns.
No.
With Hal Jordan and John Stewart, but also at this point you have Kyle Rayner, who's an ex-convict.
Right.
And they've all had different beef with the Guardians at different times. So the Guardians came up with a little plot in which they would build Guy up to be one of the greatest Guardians ever, just to knock him back down. So they could try and use that to stop allowing humans be selected by the Green Lantern rings.
Why do I feel like this didn't play out as they were hoped?
Well, there's not too much information on if they've fully executed this plan or not, or whatever.
Right.
Eventually, when this was mainly their plan, Hal Jordan had stopped being a Lantern. Kyle Rayner had gone off with his ring, but refusing to answer to them anymore.
Right.
And John Stewart had been arrested for allegedly killing another Lantern.
Oh.
But all of them resolved themselves, so I think this left them just leaving Guy alone.
Okay.
But when Hal came back, he did send Guy on an undercover mission into the Red Lantern Corps. The Red Lantern Corps are hate they're fueled by and rage. Because they were concerned about the leader of the Red Lantern Corps, Atrocitus.
Okay.
And Guy ended up becoming their leader through battle because of how much unbridled rage hides within him. He was like mega powerful with a Red Lantern ring.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So Guy Gardner is an interesting character. When I think of Guy Gardner, I think more like the mid 2000s, like think it was Justice League Unlimited, where you see him with like the red bowl cart, and he's just an angry little man who no one likes. I'm sure there's more depth to the character that I haven't explored, but every time I've seen him, that's like the main way he comes across. So it'd be interesting to see how he gets used in
Superman Legacy.
Superman Legacy.
Yeah.
But I guess the way it's been described to us is that we're dealing with someone who's been Superman for a little while. He's got his Clark Kent life and his Superman life, and these are the other people in them lives with Jimmy and Lois, and then you've got Mr. Terrific and Guy. Doesn't mean he has to get on very well with all of them. So he might have to work with Guy because Guy's the defender of the sector of space that Earth is in. But that doesn't mean that Superman has to like him. You don't have to like your co-workers.
No, doesn't necessarily mean that.
We do this together every week and we hate each other.
Yeah, what you don't see off screen, people, is that we just instantly end call and don't speak to each other for another 7 days.
I call him Hori because I don't actually know his first name. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Yes,
and it would be nice to see a Green Lantern again.
Yeah, it will.
Because Green Lanterns are fucking awesome. All of the Lantern Corps are so cool in concept and the way they can be used. The general public got a really bad taste up front, and it kind of soured it for a long time. But I think we're ready to recover and move on.
Yeah, I'm sure James Gunn will do it the correct way.
I can't imagine he wants to leave all them lanterns on the table.
I think this is him giving us a taste of like the future of what we're gonna see.
Exactly. Secret Invasion episode 5. Anyone? Any takers?
Yes, the penultimate episode of season 1. If we get another season.
I'm gonna start with my complaints off the bat.
Okay.
This episode felt too short. It skipped
Agreed.
by quite quickly. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because I don't think like it was structured poorly. It's just because there was like constantly something happening, that 37-minute episode felt like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it could have done with just a little bit more. It kind of felt like, I don't know if the ending is really where it should have ended. It almost felt like we should have got like another bit.
Yeah. I am concerned they have once again put themselves in a position that means the last episode is going to be rushed.
Yeah. Which is impressive, because the pacing off the rip was great.
It goes back to what we were saying, what feels like back in episode 3. The pacing they've got for 6 episodes is actually a fine pacing. It's moving along at a nice enough speed. But if you want that to be the speed, it just needs to be 9 episodes.
Yeah, this is what we've said for a lot of the Disney Plus shows now, is they just need more. There just need to be more episodes. Just let them be longer.
They do such a good job building everything up for 5 episodes.
Yeah.
And then they give 1 episode to close it all down.
Yeah. And it's
just not enough.
The seasons just feel so short.
Exactly. And I've got a horrible feeling at the end, after he's done his suit up, which we called.
Yeah.
I've got a horrible feeling everyone on the internet's like trying to work out who's on the other end of the phone. And that was what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be sitting here right now listing all of the people he could have just called. I've got a horrible feeling all he's done is call Gravik and tell him it's time to meet.
That's what my brain went to. He made that phone call and I was like, who would that be? Probably Gravik. The way he
sucks.
Yeah. And it's like
a lot of people are like, oh, I bet he's called Quake.
No. It very much felt like he just called Gravix. But I think there is still more. There's something else at play here that we haven't figured out yet, I think. Go on.
No, go on.
Well, I was going to say, like, we had this episode where, like, he finally confronted Rhodey in front of the guard, which I thought was a bit like, is he just hoping the guard thinks he's crazy? Is that guard meant to just stand there and, like, listen to this fact that Rhodey's a Skrull and not, like, question anything? But we also got on the British side of things, I forgot what the ginger guy.
Ginger guy. Oh yeah, Sonya's boss.
Yeah. We found out he was a Skrull. And then also Sonya goes and deals with the doctor.
Scientists.
Yeah, the scientists.
Yeah. I just want to say,
she's the star of the show.
Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
Is the GOAT.
Oh, yeah.
We've been knowing this for a while now.
She's stolen the show.
There is something about the gritty, brutal super spy always being very smiley, very peppy, and very upbeat.
And also just a dash of sarcasm.
Yeah, that is so beautifully funny in an accidental way that doesn't take away from the drama and seriousness. And I think only Olivia Colman could pull it off this well.
Yeah.
Because especially this episode, I just sat there going, okay, I want another Olivia Colman scene right now. Because it's so like when he pulls the shotgun and she's like, oh, we must stop doing this. And then she's like, Jerry or whatever. And he's like, my name's Roy. She's like, no, Jerry's the guy with a silencer on the base of your skull. And then you just see him coming to the shot and she's like, there he is.
It's the way as well. She's like, oh well, we can do that. I can have many faces, and I can be like all pleasant, and I can be your bestie, or I can be your non-bestie. And then it is just like, and when she confronts a boss, and then they come in and go, "What have you just done?" And she's like, "Oh, he's just going to show us his true colors," and his hand turns green. It's just like she gives zero shits, and she does it in the most polite way possible.
It's so good.
I also loved that when um, Fury got in the car and she's saying like, "You spent $7 billion and all I can do is change your face." Um, but then he says, obviously, there's like another version of it,
Yeah,
and
this is a
then
prototype.
yeah, and then she turns on the car and storms his plane. And
Yeah.
I just loved the idea of Olivia Colman just driving
Mhm.
through London, just bopping to Stormzy.
Mhm.
It honestly was great. I loved. Oh, I'm very intrigued by this whole the harvest that we've now got info on.
Yes. I
Oh,
hate to say it.
go on.
I don't disagree with the plot point.
Right.
I think the first we're hearing about it is too late,
Yes.
and I think it is just going to be used to explain whatever shit housery is happening in Miss Marvel with the power swapping bullshit.
Um. See, I don't think that. I agree that it was an. It was. I feel like they should have hinted at the term or the mention of the harvest should have been done sooner. Maybe even back when he was like that guy was trying like Saints Graphics or that we came up with nothing at that place. Like there should have been mention then of the harvest and just nothing else. Because people would just spent what the fuck is the harvest and spent ages figuring it out, and it would have just added a bit of mystery. I think it's actually more of a cop out of just like it's kind of like a plot point to pull Fury back because he's the only one that knows about like this idea that he's the only one that knows about it and Gravik's headed it. It's like it's this thing they're using to kind of just tie them together as to like give us a reason of why they actually really hate like why they're butting heads right now. Um I'm not
I
like the
also
yeah, the idea of the harvest is fine, but also at the same time feels kind of flawed. Because like they talk about the Battle of Earth.
yeah, which
Which
I assume is at the end of Endgame.
yeah, basically that's the first time we've heard like what we've been calling like the blip or the like end game. All of that in like one go, I imagine, is like the battle for Earth. Um, I'm sorry, but that was all rubble at the end. You can't tell me that they just walked in there and were like, "Ah, this blood specifically right here, that's Carol Danvers. We'll take that." Like, what? How are they going through like some like just destroyed area and picking out that's Carol Danvers' blood, not just some Wakanda soldier's blood.
Yeah,
Like it seems a little far fetched that they're able to like gather it, but I get the premise that it's feasible that they would do that. It just feels like yeah.
but I mean, you've also why? So the logic is
Mm-hmm.
Fury doesn't want to call the Supros in because Gravix wants them to get their powers.
Yeah,
But Fury knows he doesn't have the harvest and doesn't know where the harvest is.
yeah.
And Gravix, yeah, he has some powers, but is that enough to deal with the Avengers? In whatever capacity the Avengers currently exist?
Well, the first reason he gives is like he doesn't want them to like be able to mirror them, which I get. Like they need to see them properly to get like a proper mirror. Like you could go off video and stuff, but like it wouldn't be. I don't know. Maybe they can't quite get enough information off that.
We're also in like dire straits now. I get at the very beginning him being like, well, we don't want
Well,
like
yeah,
Captain America like committing a terrorist attack.
Yeah, and then
Fair
that
enough.
was his early reason. And then he gets asked by why is her name now gone out my head? The British
Sonia.
Sonia asks, "Why have you not called out down your big friends?" And then he explains, "Well, it's personal now." And it's like now it's become. It's not about them being used for a terrorist. It's just like it's now his personal. Like he's taking this personally.
Yeah.
And like I get, like he got Gravix to do this, and now like it's no one else knew about it. It's his fuck up. That's why he's got to come back down and deal with it. I get that, but it's like, really, you're gonna risk Earth and not call in the superheroes?
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. I am still very excited for the last episode. I'm excited to
Yeah,
see how it gets wrapped up, but there is a little bit of concern about the pacing of this final episode. What I will say is the fight sequence at the new Skrullos,
yes,
where they try to take down Gravik, fucking brutal.
yeah, it was.
I loved it.
And we got to see
So
like
good.
his adult form for the first time.
Mm,
Um, oh yeah, they gave it a good try, but like it felt like such a pot because they know he's a super Skrull at this point, and it's like you really think a bag over his head and like hitting him with a sledgehammer is going to do anything when he got shot in the face and healed. It kind of felt a bit like, come on, you should have tried harder.
yeah.
um, I thought the whole thing with Priscilla and Gaia was interesting. Got a bit more insight into kind of like how Fury and Priscilla became a thing, and then although Gaia was not with her father's plan, she obviously was very much wanted to make sure he got the proper send off, which was
I
interesting
did
to kind of see a bit of their culture, I guess.
I did potentially
Oh,
notice a plot hole in that scene though.
okay.
Who came to kill them at the house?
Well, I think we're meant to be led to believe it's the Skrulls.
Mm. Cool. There's a big problem with that.
Go on.
Scrolls bleed blue blood, as we've seen. Every single person that got shot had red blood.
They would, yeah, but when they're in human form, they bleed red at first, and then it changes.
Yeah, but none of them transformed after they got fucking
We didn't
shot to shit.
hang on any of them though.
No, there was one hanging in the background that didn't change.
Maybe it wasn't Skrulls. Maybe it was somebody else.
I think it was Scrolls. I think that was just a potential oversight.
I think they kind of played on the fact that we didn't really hang on, other than the guy hanging in the background. Like no one was hung on, proven to be a Skrull, probably budget wise. The fight scene was cool. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, no.
Surprised. I'll be honest. Like Fury only has like a couple of bug out bags in his house. Are you kidding me? Like that man doesn't have tech security to deal with shit. Like some
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
like it was just a bug out bag with like a body armor thing that pulls over the front and there's a pistol on it. It's like, okay, surely there's like some nanotech or some like he's got a fucking rocket launcher in a drawer that's like the size of a watch. You'd think like Fury has some better security than just a couple of bug out bags with one with a pistol, one with a shotgun.
Um, yeah, but at the same time, he's always also like he's not a big truster of tech either. Tech fails,
True.
skills don't.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, if he thinks this is his house where he's with his wife, he won't want it to just be like parcel in the
Yeah.
sense of literally designed for protection. He'll want it to feel like a home, otherwise it'll feel
Well,
like a prison.
we know that Priscilla bought the home, don't we? So
Yeah.
I suppose he probably wasn't. She probably didn't let him do anything to it. I
I mean, for all we know, he might have taken some more weapons with him or whatever at different
True.
times.
I'm worried Fury's gonna die.
You've
He
been telling me I'm crazy this whole week because he's in the Marvels.
Yeah, no. And
You're not flip-flopping now last
well,
second
no, it's just
because
like
you've seen
I
the vision.
okay. I don't like. I don't think he is gonna die because he's got to be in Marvels. But it feels like he has a death wish right now. Which then
Yeah.
is like, but then my brain is playing on that theory that I mentioned last week. I've seen floating around that there's two Furies going around. One's a Skrull playing Fury, and it's like, if that's true, that changes things up a bit. Because we've like, let's look at next week, right? We're gonna have Fury and Gravix have to face off. Rhodey has to get exposed. Like that's got to get like.
Well, we need to know where the real Rhodey is.
Well, we presume in New Skrullos.
We're assuming so. We need to know he's okay. Because you've got to
So,
remember, they're getting ready to nuke New Skrullos.
oh wait, do you know what I think will happen? Fury's gonna go meet with Gravix. Gravix said bring some iodine pills or whatever because the reactor's rough, which is because of radiation. Fury's gonna go meet with him, use that as an opportunity to be in like the wasp's nest. He's gonna try and find Rhodey and free him so that the real Rhodey can be like, "Hello, Mr. President. This is a Skrull." Bang, and then real Rhodey's there, and like that's how he's gonna clear.
I get what you're saying, but do we even know if the real Rhodey's ever properly met the president?
He must have done at some point. Not maybe like as an official position, but like sure, like he was War Machine. He's got to have met him at some point.
He met
Even
the last president in Iron Man 3.
Yeah, but this president would have been cutting about as a official. He's definitely shaken hands with a lot of high-ranking people.
He might
He's
come
War
out
Machine.
he might have come out of his little coma thing and go, "Wait, who the fuck's president?"
Well,
we don't know how long he's been in there.
Well, yeah, the theory now I've seen is that some point during Endgame, like after the Endgame fight, is when he got switched.
Oh, that'd be shit though, because it doesn't change anything for us.
Well, the theory is it happened between like real Rhodey saw Iron Man die, but Skrull Rhodey was at the funeral.
Got ya.
So it's like in that like cleanup stage when Skrulls would have been sent in to get blood and the harvest. People are like, is that when shit went down and Rhodey got switched?
It still doesn't really change anything though, does it? I want it to be more impactful than that. I want it to be like after Civil War, so that the Infinity War and Endgame was a Skrull going, "The fuck am I doing here?" Like, Gravix, the fuck do you mean I've got to go back in time? They want a time travel, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like it's so hard because if it is before Endgame, it just makes that whole.
Yeah.
But
it's what happens when you
I
decide you want to do this story and you haven't thought about it earlier to lay the groundwork.
I did think it was interesting though as well that Fury has fucking gravestones everywhere. We've seen 2 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw his original one,
Winter Soldier.
and and then we saw this one that's in Finland.
Yeah.
And he said he has them everywhere. So
that's such a Nick Fury thing.
Yeah, it really is.
I did enjoy the suit up scene though.
The suit up scene was great.
Him pull out a big ass coat, get a pistol out, put his eye patch on. I was like, yeah, let's fucking cook.
He was set. I think it's safe to assume that Maria Hill isn't returning.
Maybe that's who's on the phone to.
I think all those things where people are like, she's still got guest stars for later episodes. It's like, yeah, because they keep showing her fucking clip.
They keep showing the fucking footage of her getting shot.
She's making bank off one scene.
Well, maybe not.
We'll get into that later. But I do agree with the whole, there is a lot to wrap up in this last episode.
And we have no reason to believe this is getting a second season.
No.
So I don't see how it does.
I think it's gonna lead. It's got to lead into the Marvels, like in the sense of like how Nick Fury's left off.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like,
But yeah, the only thing that makes sense for me is they get the harvest, they try and spin up the machine, it goes wrong, and because they've got Captain Marvel's DNA, it sends out a big throughout the universe, and that's what causes Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, and
yeah, maybe it'll like unlock something.
yeah, it causes them to be stuck in this little power
See,
swap loop thing.
one theory I was thinking is like whatever, like it all wraps up however it does, and then as punishment, but also because Fury's still kind of going to be as a wanted man. Like there's no real way to scrub that off the public precedent. Even if you say, "Oh, that was an alien," it's like, well, that looks like. There's people just going to be like, "Yeah, but that looks like Fury. How do we know that isn't the Fury and not an alien Fury?" So they're just going to be like,
True.
"Just go hide on Saber again." There's an anomaly that you need to investigate with the Marvels.
He didn't seem to be like a fugitive in the trailer, though, did he? He seemed a bit confident, cutting about in the middle of the day, knocking on doors and stuff.
Yeah, but at the end of that episode, I would say he was like being careful.
Potentially. Anyway, we shall see.
Yes.
Onwards. Oppenhimer and Barbie
Yes.
comes out
Big build up.
today. Yeah, it comes out today as you guys are listening to it. Tomorrow for us.
Mm-hmm.
This might be one of the most anticipated releases
Yeah.
in the last 5 years. The only thing off the top of my head that I remember experiencing with a bigger build up than this was Endgame.
Yeah, I would say like Oppenheimer. It's weird because we've got like two different reasons. Like Oppenheimer's got this huge build up because of just what it is and what it's expected to be, and it's like looks like it's going to be this amazing piece of cinema. And then you've got the incredible marketing of Barbie that's been going on for months and is so creative that everyone is fucking talking about that. And the fact that they're both releasing at the same time has just made this like huge just discussion about these two films.
Yeah.
Both sides have done an amazing job with like the build up.
But like anytime I've seen anything, no one's talking about Barbie or Oppenheimer. They're talking about Barbenheimer Day.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like because these films have both slowly become more anticipated because they're dropping on the same day and they're such like stark opposites on like tone of film. It's like such a weird combo to come out at the same time, but yeah, it seems to work. Everyone's so excited for both of them.
The which one's gonna do better debate lasted for about 3 days, and then everyone was like, "The fuck do you mean better? I'm gonna go see them both
Yeah,
back to back."
cinema basically was like cinemas were going rather than trying to get people to watch their film over the other. They suddenly were like, "Hang on a second, we have a thing here where people want to see both. So why don't we just spin this as like which you watching first?"
Yeah, no, 100%. But it's interesting because I've seen a couple like meme ideas of how to go watch it.
Oh god, here we go.
So it's like you get up in the morning,
Yeah.
you have a cigarette and a black coffee for breakfast. You go watch Oppenheimer.
Okay.
Then you go for a bottomless brunch after Oppenheimer.
Right.
Go watch Barbie.
Yeah.
And then you go out clubbing in the evening.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but the idea of someone getting up, having a cigarette and a dark before going to watch Oppenheimer, and then finishing Oppenheimer and just going, okay, time for mimosas, is fucking class.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because it's like because there's such opposite scales on like tone and what they're about. You've got one that's a very intense, serious story, and one that's just going to be pure chaos. and comedy and what, like, just, and it's like, you either, it feels wrong to go watch, it feels wrong to watch them in any order, because like, you either go watch something really serious, you're going to come out of it and be like, oh my god, that was fucking incredible, what a story, what a piece of, and then you're like, oh, let's just go watch some light-hearted like craziness that is Barbie, and it's like just completely going to take you out of how you feel after the film. Or you go watch Barbie and then you have to, don't like, bring yourself back to reality by watching Oppenheimer.
Yeah. It's really interesting because from day one, I've been like, no, you go watch Barbie first, and then you go watch Oppenheimer. Like, instantly, that in my head was the way it had to be done.
I think
But
that's to be Oppenheimer.
Jenna to me was like, no, you got to go watch Oppenheimer and then watch Barbie. And we sat there for like a good 2 days trying to work out the order we were going to go see it in. And then it got to the point I was like, no, I will not be able to enjoy Barbie after watching Oppenheimer. We need to go watch Barbie first. And she was like, okay, I'm really not that precious about which way we're going to do it. So cool, we'll do it the way you want to do it. That's fine. I was like, sweet, thank you.
I can understand that.
According to the internet, I am the one in the wrong. Everyone seems to be going Oppenheimer then Barbie, and I don't get that. And I'll tell you for why.
Okay, I'm ready.
So a lot of the press around this has been like other people who've watched it saying that Oppenheimer is like really like depressing.
Yeah.
I have never ever in the history of anything finished watching a depressing episode or a depressing show, a depressing film, and then wanted to put something happy on immediately. I want to sit with that lasting emotion that film has given me, that music has given me, that show has given me, so that I can like fully appreciate the work that's gone into being able to create that emotional response.
Yeah.
Whereas after watching something funny, I'm in such a good mood. I'll watch fucking anything afterwards. I'll watch the most boring piece of garbage afterwards and not care.
Do you know what? See, I think if I'm being real, I don't think I can watch them in the same day. Like, I don't think, because
not
like,
even for the culture.
no, because it's like, it's so, both ways feel wrong and different. It's like you say, it's weird to go like, to walk out of Oppenheimer from like whatever that's going to be, like that how people are saying that story is. You're going to be in like a pretty like deep place after that film of like, whoa, what have I just watched? To go see Barbie right after feels weird, to like just have to just brush all that off and be like, oh, I'm gonna go watch Barbie. But then it also feels like you can't get in the right headspace to enjoy Oppenheimer if you're walking out of Barbie to really be like in the zone for Oppenheimer. Like, I feel like you need to go into Oppenheimer clear-headed to be ready for what you're going to experience.
Well, that's why we're going for dinner in between.
Ah, smart.
So, like, this is the plan. Like, I think our showing's at 2:00 for Barbie. So we're gonna rock up at Barbie. I'm gonna get my large popcorn. I'm gonna get my large drink. We're gonna go sit down and enjoy Barbie, which is just under 2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
We're then gonna come out of that. We're gonna walk down the high street. We're gonna go to Nando's and we're gonna have dinner.
Cheeky.
Then we're gonna walk back to the cinema. I'm gonna get another large popcorn and another large drink. Fight me. And then we're gonna sit down and watch Oppenheimer. So there is that gap in the middle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the problem is if Barbie's really fucking hype, if I was to go and watch that second, I wouldn't be able to sleep and I'd be fucking headbanging. Whereas, like, after Oppenheimer, I'm gonna be like, the world is over. I must rest.
I get you. Do you know what I think also for me is like, although there's all this hype for Barbie and everyone's talking about it, like, I still have no real interest in seeing Barbie. Like, it just doesn't grab me to want to go see it.
At first, I was like ironically interested for the culture, but the more I've seen about it, it genuinely seems like it's gonna be really good.
It probably will be. I don't know. It's not grabbed me. Whereas Oppenheimer, I'm so excited for Oppenheimer. And I'm
I'm
doing
excited.
my best to avoid any of these early reviews because I really want to experience. I don't want any like preconceived like, oh, this part, or the only thing I know is he did an explosion for real.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay.
Did you see he was asked about that? So someone asked him, or someone told him that when the internet saw that, they thought he meant he was going to set off an actual fucking nuke. And he was like, I'm both a little bit honoured and a little bit scared that the internet thought I would set off a nuclear explosion just for a film.
I mean, if anyone was to do it, it'd be him or Michael Bay.
Thank you. I thought you were about to say if anyone was going to do it, it'd be him, and I was going to go all Michael Bay. Yeah, no, 100%.
Like either him for the pure like has to capture the real thing, or Michael Bay to just be like, I've done the biggest explosion ever in film.
But like, just some of the memes that are coming out for this, like Margot Robbie was talking about some of the memes, and she said some of her favorite are like the memes of like people who look like they've just come back from war and stuff, or like really manly men. It's like 2 tickets for Barbie, please.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's comedy.
There's one where it's like the people in Goodfellas.
Yes.
They're all like suited up and they're walking up to, and it's like the cinema like 2 tickets, tickets to Barbie, please. It's great, and I mean the marketing in general for Barbie has been wild. Like the crossovers in every area of culture, and then it's bled. Like Oppenheimer's got some like the countdown that Oppenheimer was doing. That everyone presumed it was for the film starting, and then everyone was like, "Hang on, it's got to 0 and the film's not out for 2 days." And then they're like, well, yeah, we never said it was for the film. And people realized, oh, this is when the first nuke went off, which is smart in itself because everyone was like, countdowns always get people hyped.
Yeah. Just there is something about the human brain that sees numbers ticking down, going, the fuck does it mean?
Yeah, what's going to happen at 0?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you seen? So there's been another meme that I've seen today that is dark as fuck.
Uh-oh.
It was like Barbie. So you know, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger like hands beam.
Yeah,
With,
yeah,
like, flexing arms. So you got one. It's like Barbie, our first product released in Japan. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
And like there was a fake rumor that Japan had banned Oppenheimer from being played, and everyone was like, "Well, yeah, they already know how it ends." And that was just like it was complete bullshit. Japan had never like even considered banning it.
Yeah, because to them it's just a documentary.
Yeah. But like Barbie has actually been banned in Taiwan.
It's wild.
Because in the background of one of their shots, the map has 9 dashes on it.
Okay.
Which is like used in maps that show the sea belongs to China in that area.
Oh.
But Taiwan, like, but my understanding, and it might not be perfect, is that in the maps that show that sea belongs to China, it doesn't recognize Taiwan as a state.
Got you.
So Taiwan, like, you're not recognizing us as a sovereign state, and it undermines us, so you're not allowed to show your film here.
Oh, man.
Is my understanding.
There's a lot of political history there.
I could never. That must be the biggest headache of doing like a AAA film.
Yeah, and I feel like
big studio
that probably was just like the smallest oversight that this is now
I
happening.
don't
like,
even know if most people who work in Hollywood could do that on purpose if they tried.
No. So, well, I mean, it's still going to do great everywhere else.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for it.
The things I've seen for Oppenheimer, because obviously the red carpet, there was a lot of interviews done before the strike started. Yes. And there's a lot of stuff where like Cillian Murphy, like everyone, even the actors saying like this is his film. Like this is gonna be his moment. And like There's so many clips of like Robert Downey Jr. looking like a proud dad
Yeah,
of him on red carpet and stuff, and Cillian Murphy's constantly like, "Well, I'm all right. We all did great," and they're like, "No, stop saying we. This is your moment. Accept
yeah.
it." So I'm very excited for Oppenheimer. I think it's going to be incredible. I do think it's
So
going
am
to
I.
like revive this. Like these two films, in a way, are like revitalizing cinema a bit.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm really concerned if one of these doesn't break 1 billion. I'm concerned about the
Yeah.
health of cinema because there's just so much excitement for them. If one of these doesn't manage to break 1 billion,
Mm.
the days of billion films could be done for this decade. On God.
Yeah, I do think one of these will. I actually think Oppenheimer might do it. Out of the
It should.
two, I
Back in
think
2019, when it felt like 1 billion wasn't even an impressive box office anymore, this film would have been, everyone would have been like, oh, this guy break 2. Watch.
mm,
Um, so I think it shows how far we've gone that people are like, we'll see if it can hit 1 billion. We hope it can.
yeah, I think once these films come out and the initial like public response, people will not stop talking. Will like people are already talking so much about these films, like people will be talking about these films, and I think that is what a lot of films haven't had since, like you say, since like Endgame, where everyone was talking about going to watch that film, and that's what will boost it to do so
Yeah,
well.
100%.
Sure.
SAG-AFTRA
Yes,
strikes,
lots of
updates,
news and
stories.
stuff coming out about how the
Yeah.
strikes have begun.
So we've kept a close eye on this situation because obviously doing the podcast we need to
Yeah.
know what's going on, but we also don't want to fail to show effective support.
Well, yeah.
So we want to make sure we're up to date on what's going on. So basically, all that SAG-AFTRA are asking non-members to do
Mm-hmm.
is not do jobs that the actors should be doing
Yeah.
if they weren't on strike. So don't be paid to promote it. Don't be paid to take an actor's role if you're not with SAG-AFTRA. Don't like take their job.
Yeah.
So we've had a look at the guidelines. Talking about stuff that's coming out is actually something they want people to do, because if the films and TV shows and everything bomb and do really, really badly, they're worried studios might use this as an excuse to not meet their demands and go, well, look, that film you
Yeah.
told us was going to make 600 million didn't even make 100 million. So they don't want people to boycott stuff. They've been very clear they're not asking for a boycott yet. That might change, but right now they're not asking anyone to boycott anything. What they actually want people to do is show their appreciation for the stuff that's coming out, so that the value in it can be seen, so the studios understand why they
Yeah.
need to pay them.
Yeah.
So that's first and foremost. We will continue to do our reviews and previews. The only thing that won't randomly start happening out of nowhere, not that it's been happening up until now, is we won't be doing any paid promotion for stuff.
Yeah. So James can just hold that checkbook.
Yeah,
It's okay.
yeah.
We'll
Keep your checkbook to yourselves, guys. We don't want your money.
just hit, hit me back in like a month.
Yeah. Just make the actors happy, then you can pay us as well. We'll be good then. But there is a couple of really big bits to consider.
Yes, there is.
Because I feel like, I think it's fair to say we're both very pro-union just as a concept, let alone the nitty-gritty of each union. Just conceptually, I want everyone to be part of a union. But there's been a lot of information that, if you're outside the industry, you wouldn't know. And I'm not saying we're in the industry, but we've gone out to find this information so
Yeah,
that we
we're
can
paying
understand what their
attention.
full gripes are. And like some of the big things that I took away have been under SAG-AFTRA, you need to be earning $27,800 a year
Yep.
to have health insurance.
Yep.
Which, of course, if you're in America, is very, very important if you would like to
Live.
Yeah.
Full stop.
And only 20% of SAG-AFTRA members are meeting that threshold.
And that's the wild thing. When people say that's the threshold, and people think, oh, well, the likes of Ryan Reynolds and all these big names, like, yeah, that's no problem for them. So a lot of like smaller actors are going to be on way more than that because those actors are getting like huge salaries. Surely they're crossing, but no, it's like 80% of the people under Saga are just not even hitting the threshold. Or once were hitting the threshold through dividends, and it was often dividends that would push them over that threshold. But now, because of streaming services, they no longer reach that threshold.
Exactly. And another big one was so there's been actors in the past, who've spoken about residual checks and stuff. And they'll talk about like a sitcom they did one episode for 20 years ago. They'll still get like a check every month for like $20, $30, $40 of a residual for a show that's 20 years old that they did one episode for. And then you have one of the main characters from Orange is the New Black, which was on Netflix and was a show that kind of put Netflix originals on the map.
Yep.
It was one of Netflix's first big hits that made them not just a streaming service, but rather a place that was creating content. They were in like probably over half the episodes of that show, and one of their residuals for a month, bearing in mind this is also a newer show, so the residuals should still be a bit higher, was like not even $1.
Yeah, it was like 85 cents.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they showed, because I'm not even sure if Orange and New Black got shown on some network channels for a little bit.
Potentially.
And it was like, this is what they got when it was on network, and it was like I don't know, something like $8,000 or something. And then it was like, now that it's just on streaming, they get 85 cents. So it's not like these actors are it's going from like, oh, they were getting 10,000 a month to like, oh, they're only getting like a couple of grand. No, this is like they are getting like nothing from streaming services.
Another big one I saw was there was a show that was on cable, not cable, it was on TV. I don't know what TV it was on in America, called This Is Us, which was a very big show. Their main characters were getting 250 grand an episode initially, which is, yes, a lot of money. And it's not that we're worried about the people making the big money. It's if this is how they're treating the people who make the big money, what are they doing to the ones who aren't making the big money?
Yeah.
So they got paid 250 grand an episode originally. And now that's on Disney Plus. This show is 3 or 4 years old, still really new. Jenna was watching it, literally binge watching it 2 months ago. And she has received residuals for 1 penny and 2 pennies.
It's wild.
A lot of actors who are like in the later part of their careers, like Bob Urdick from Better Call Saul, come out and said when he was starting, he'd live off residuals while trying to find more work because they were substantial enough once you had a big enough backlog of work.
Yeah.
That you could live off that while finding more work. Now that's not possible.
Yeah, they're back to living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes. And that's only one of their complaints. Another big complaint is that that studios were trying to get extras to sign a 1-day contract, which isn't uncommon, to come and be an extra for $500. But in that contract, they were trying to get them to sign away their likeness so that forever, at no additional cost, they could create AI and computer-generated replicas of them that they could use in the background forever. So what an actor who was doing an extra role for $500 per day was doing would be $500 for 1 day and then never needed ever again.
Yeah, there was one story that lined up with that where someone had, for a Marvel show, they didn't say which one, um, they got paid for a day, and then at the end of the day, they had to go into um the VR room or something they called it. They got full body scanned, and essentially, then their contract, like they had to sign and agree that their likeness would be used in CGI forever in that universe. So essentially, forever in the MCU. So like, not quite as big as like they can use it in anything, but basically like them testing the water or being like, oh, we can just pay this person for a day and we have a backlog of AI extras that we can use in the MCU. Because the MCU is so good at their CGI as well. But it's
It's
wild.
it's really really scary, and it would put actors out of work when
And
a lot of them are struggling to get by anyway.
I think we've now seen the kind of first pass of not demands or like requests from
Yes,
SAG-AFTRA,
this is what we want.
and the response that essentially the studio representatives gave. There was a lot there. Big ones like we've talked about the residuals, like it's changing the way that residuals are handled by streaming platforms from the precedent that was set by Netflix was just straight up rejected.
Yeah,
Basically being like, now we don't want to pay you residuals. There was ones where like if extras end up having to do more work in a day than being just an extra, they should get paid more. That was rejected. Um, things
another
like, go on.
another big one was the one that like struck out to me as craziness was a lot of actors are based in New York or LA because that's where the
Yes.
work is. And there is a relocation fee of
Mm,
$8,000 to help them move. Which, okay, that is perfect, that makes sense. However, that $8,000 is the same no matter what, and it is the same if the show is in Toronto, you film there for 3 months a year, and it's a 10 season long show. You're going to have to go back out there for 3 months every year, rent, eat, sleep, have a car, whatever.
mm-hmm.
But obviously, you can't give up your place back where you live for the other 9
Yeah.
months of the year with your partner, maybe children. And
Mm-hmm.
again, we're not talking about the multimillionaires. We're
Yeah, we're just
talking
talking about
about your
general.
average actors.
Yeah.
That $8,000 isn't enough.
Especially because like people need to realize that relocation fee is when they first get on the show. Like that's literally the start. If that's like kind of says like 10 seasons long, they don't get it every season when they have to go back out there. It's just like a one-time thing. And then there was also, I saw that like people were saying, actresses and actors are saying like they have to take on leases or they'll have to then break a lease when they're done, which then is obviously bad on their like credit and or they have
Yeah.
to find other actors to take over. Like it's really, it makes things a lot more difficult for them. Um, there was also things like what there was. Oh, that was something that was in the list of requests. That performance capture now has become such a significant job title to go like do a job that is all performance capture. And it was like it allowed films such as Avatar to be as successful as they are, and it
Yes.
allowed them to be created. And these people should now be, they should get their own classification as a job title
I've got
and
the bit here.
pay.
Performance capture. SAG-AFTRA proposal. Finally acknowledged that performance capture is in fact a SAG-AFTRA covered category of work.
Mhm.
This highly skilled form of performance makes blockbuster projects like Avatar possible. So, what SAG-AFTRA are asking for is for studios to treat people who are doing motion capture
Performance.
performance
Yeah.
are treated the same as actors protected by SAG-AFTRA because they're not currently. The studios just rejected that.
Yeah. They're
They
like,
didn't.
nah.
They didn't counter it. They've just gone no. So this means Zoe Saldana and people like that, or even
Andy
again,
Serkis.
yeah, your superstar actors down to your people who are background characters don't get any of the protections that they would get working on a live action project
No.
when they're doing motion capture.
Which is wild, considering how often most motion capture and performance capture is used now.
All the time. All of the
Yeah.
time. And it also, maybe that makes a bit more sense as to why we're moving away from practical costumes. Because by doing that, they can put them more in performance capture to treat them like shit.
And there was a lot of other things on that document. Things like hair and makeup should get better benefits and different things, which some of the
workers should be entitled to residuals.
Things to do with like breaks, which some of that stuff they rejected, and it's like, but a lot of stuff as well. Like if they did have a response, they kind of lowballed like percentages or amounts.
Yeah.
Or they were like, we don't feel like this exactly like explains enough detail. Like they're basically being like, nah, come back at us with another attempt of that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, as with all these things, they are in negotiation. Obviously, not everything is going to get blanket accepted. Nothing is going to be the original demands. There has to be leeway from both sides. That is how these things work. But to just straight up reject some of those really big and important points, like, is just wild.
Yeah. So I think we could be in for a long one.
Yeah, I think we can. And I think at the moment, the studios are like, it's just started. Like, the only major thing it's affected has been the Oppenhimer premiere in the UK, like big films we're talking here. And then there's been some stuff has started to be affected for San Diego Comic Con, which, let's be honest, big studios don't give a shit about Comic Con.
I will
as
say,
much as we wish they did.
I saw a very interesting number thrown out though.
Okay.
It's being estimated that for every studio, every production that's currently being halted. So if CBS have 10 productions that have all been halted, each of them productions is estimated to be costing the studio $600,000 a week.
And they're happy to burn that money.
Because that's what it is. They are burning that fucking money.
Do you know? So, one of maybe like the last things on this, I saw a bit of a tinfoil hat theory as to why the studios are so reluctant to give these residuals.
Okay.
What if these studios, wild thought, have been pumping and faking the numbers for these shows? Being like, oh yeah, they're doing so well. You should sign up to our streaming platform. Like, we're getting all these views. Come watch our shows. Look how popular
these shows
are. Actually aren't doing that well, and they don't have the money to give for those like the numbers don't match, and they don't want to have to prove that. And I was like, you know what? That's not the wildest theory. Like, I can definitely see Netflix being like, yeah, this show's doing amazing. Like, Witcher 3 is getting breaking numbers when everyone knows no one's watching Witcher 3. Because Henry Cavill, the fact that they've split it into 2 parts to milk that man is just wild to me. But anyway, that's another.
But it's definitely interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah. We will. I think we will see a shift in things. It's gonna be a long one.
At the end of the day, people like Bob Iger, do not deserve to earn $27 million a year off of the back of all of these actors, creative writers, directors, studios, runners, makeup artists, stunt coordinators, workshop designers, VFX. They don't deserve to earn all that money when all of them people are struggling to make a living. That's the bottom fucking line. I don't even think that's one of my more outlandish eat the rich takes. I would like to think that's just a bit of a common sense. The labor who make the thing are entitled to the majority of the profit, not the person who was given a C-suite position of said company.
Yeah.
There's a reason that CEOs don't need a union, and it's because they make the fucking rules.
The only C-suite jobs that ever have any respect to them are the creative officers, like your James Gunns, because they are actually creating shit for the studios. So, yeah,
Exactly.
wild times.
So
Wild times.
I understand, like, if you're not that plugged in, why hearing millionaire actors complain about the situation might make you go, "Do I really care?" They're not actually. This is one of the few times where a rich person is not actually out there fighting personally for themselves. They're fighting for all of the other actors they could have been if they hadn't had their big break.
Well, yeah, and a lot of them started as. So it's like a lot of these big actors got going because of residuals and because of these things, and now they're gone away, and these new actors don't have that to help get them going in their careers. So, yeah, it's not about big actors getting paid more. It's about the big actors standing to try and get the little actors paid more.
Exactly. Some nerdy news. Would you like some nerdy news?
I think we should get into some nerdy news.
I'm very sad, Mr. Zontal.
I can see. Do you know what's bad?
Game.
I'm not surprised.
Rumored for a long, long time. Got a trailer. The trailer looked so good. It looked like an RPG game where there was multiple characters.
Oh, sick.
I was like, fuck
this is some cool cinematic.
This looks good. I cannot wait.
This must be for next gen.
And then within about 15 seconds left of the trailer, it pans out and it's on a mobile phone screen and it's a turn-based game.
The classic bait and switch.
Pain. All I know is pain. So much pain.
There really needs, like, it's wild that mobile games can get away with showing like these crazy cinematic like trailers, and then it's like, oh, by the way, the game looks nothing like this, and it's a turn-based weird strategy game.
Well, no, you'll get like a massive crazy cinematic, and then it'll be like a fucking make-for puzzle game.
Yeah.
It's like, I had Bejeweled Blitz on Facebook back in 2007. I'm over it.
The best ones are on TikTok where it's like, this game is impossible. No one can get past level. And it's like, no, stop. Yeah, it's sad that it's a mobile game.
It really fucking sucks, man.
It doesn't surprise me, unfortunately. Like, so many.
Ubisoft have made it. So I was like, oh, Ubisoft are working on it. They do big open worlds.
I'm telling you, Ubisoft is still bad.
I know, but at least that's actually a game fucking developer that make AAA games. I was like, we might have a fucking chance here. But no. Just fuck me.
Unfortunate.
We can hold out hope. The reaction from the entire internet has been, are you fucking kidding me? So hopefully they realise that the people do in fact want this.
The thing is, it'll still release. It just will then disappear into the void.
Some very interesting news.
Comic news.
That has a bit of backstory behind it, so you're going to have to keep up with me.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Iman Vellani, who plays Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, is co-writing the new Ms. Marvel comic run.
Okay.
Which is fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
We've all known since day one she's a massive comic book fan.
Yeah.
I mean, even during some of the press for the Marvels, the cast have been saying if they weren't sure about something, they were asking her because she just has that trust of the cast that she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
This is where it gets a bit techie.
Okay.
Kamala Khan is an Inhuman.
Uh-huh.
Who recently died in a Spider-Man comic.
Okay.
And when I say recently, I mean the comic is up there in my hasn't read yet pile that are like my monthly delivered.
Right, okay.
So this has happened like in the last 2, maybe 3 months.
Right.
And in the new comic run, she's joining the X-Men.
Okay.
Here's the issue. The phrase mutant was used in this Marvel show.
Yeah.
So the concern is, although they've claimed they're not doing this, they're
Right.
going to retcon her inhumane heritage,
Right.
make her a mutant, and then she's going to be a mutant in the MCU. And then they're going to use that as an ability to also retcon what her powers originally were and make her comic book powers match her MCU powers.
Right. Um,
And here's the even bigger issue with this. Ms. Marvel, while we enjoyed the show, was not well received by MCU fans, and
no.
comic book fans love Miss Marvel. So when the MCU fans didn't like the show, and the comic book fans are protective of this character, why are you taking the stuff that didn't work on a big scale
Yeah,
and trying
enforcing
to
it.
force it this way instead of
Yeah.
taking what works over here and forcing it this way?
It's dangerous. Dangerous territory.
That is definitely one way to put it.
Because this could be the start of them forcing MCU stuff into the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no. Now you're fucking with the source material.
Exactly. But also there's a little bit of concern around her design in the new comic run.
Okay.
Obviously, Miss Marvel is designed to show the character's heritage,
Yeah.
and they seem to have taken some of the stuff that's important to her heritage and just left the similar concept there, but made it more generic and less about her heritage.
Mm,
So instead of like a
dangerous.
traditional like Pakistani like jacket,
Yeah.
it's just a typical button down.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, why would you do that?
Things being changed that need to be changed.
Yeah. Hopefully the course gets corrected. Hopefully, because we haven't seen a lot of stuff, hopefully this just a couple of they haven't put their best foot forward and the other stuff's actually fine.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess we'll find out.
but it's interesting nonetheless. I guess this kind of can fall into later, but we'll discuss it now because this is just the order it happened in earlier in the week. We got another little mini trailer TV spot thing for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Turtle
Mutant
Tots.
Mayhem. Yeah. With them as little kids getting saved
Fucking
by Splinter.
adorable.
I loved it so much. I just want to
It
pick them up
was
and cuddle them.
so fucking cute.
I hope this is the next generation of kids like plushy toy that they hold on to forever. Because these things are fucking cute.
Yeah, they are. And I wouldn't be surprised. It's like, it's going to be like, it really is going to be that new generation of kids that are like, we had our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that we remember. Like, this is going to become iconic for a new generation of like, what is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Exactly.
And honestly, the way they did they showed them kind of growing up as they were smashing there's a little like the moment where they're smashing the post thing,
Yeah.
flipping past, they're slowly getting
And then,
older.
yeah, it's so good. I mean, let's be clear: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles source material is just peak. There is so much you can do with it. It is destined to be like something that should always be. It should be an IP synonymous with Star Wars and Marvel and Harry
Yeah,
Potter. It should be up there because it's in so many like young adults' hearts, and there's so much fun to be had with it.
agreed.
So it should do well, and hopefully it does.
Yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to the film.
Next up, Godzilla and June Part 2 both
Yes,
had panels planned for San Diego Comic-Con.
they did.
They have both been cancelled due to the SAG-AFTRA strikes. I've not had any confirmation of any other panels or booths or anything being cancelled yet. I've not seen anything else.
No, I haven't either.
So that might just mean that the panels weren't going to have actors anyway, or they were going to be on a smaller scale, or like as of now they're just going to be on a smaller scale with just the production.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do think a lot of the panels that might have been having actors come on after showing like a little teaser trailer are just going to show like teaser stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we'll probably talk about it a little later on, but obviously Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had their panel, and I feel like it was a lot more reeled back than it probably was going to be.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, Godzilla and June 2. June 2 probably would have been a good panel. I'm not that fussed though that Godzilla isn't there. They're not like crazy big films that people are like very hyped for right now. June 2 probably more than, but it's not the end of the world that they're not at San Diego Comic Con, I don't think.
Yeah.
In some shocking but also not shocking, disappointing but also not surprised news. Flash. And I know we've talked a lot on Flash over this last year, and this is probably the last time we will mention this film for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it's ending its cinema run with less money than Green Lantern, which is quite impressive.
Now, there's a number of caveats we need to add to this.
Okay.
Because, yes, this is bad. But first and foremost, the Flash film is not as bad as the Green Lantern film.
No. Which is why it's surprising.
Yeah. I understand the complaints of the Flash. I have my own complaints with the Flash. It does not deserve the level of just visceral hate that it's got. There have been far worse superhero films.
Agreed.
Secondly, Green Lantern made a lot of money because at the time there wasn't really loads of bad superhero films.
Yeah.
So people were more willing to part with their money. They were like, fuck it, another superhero film, we're on a roll. This film came out in 2011.
Also, it was Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
So everyone's like, oh my God, Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah. And the internet, although it was, yes, a thing, it wasn't as big with people talking about their opinions on new films as it is now. So, whereas now, a film comes out on the opening day, all your Twitter feed is just everyone giving their opinions on it, and that will sour your, whether you realize it or not, that will make you, if you're on the fence about something, that will push you one way or the other. That wasn't happening as much back in 2012.
No, it wasn't.
So they could go, I'll give it a go. And also 2012 isn't 2023 when the world feels like they have no money anymore, so they're only going to go see something they absolutely desperately want to see.
Yeah. The times have changed.
Yes, big style. It is still a horrific L for the Flash, but it makes it sound the way the headlines have all been written, like Green Lantern better than Flash because more money.
Not true.
And this is just not the case at all. I don't think anyone who's seen both of the films would say they prefer Green Lantern.
No. I don't think so.
It's just there are more economic factors at play here.
The only thing that is better in Green Lantern than Flash is lead actor.
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds much better than Ezra Miller.
Yes.
That's the only thing that has it going for it. But yeah, it's wild that it's done less money. And yes, with all the factors in play, like it's still a weird it's a weird thing to be in where it's like your new headline is you've done worse than Green Lantern. And that's the last thing you want.
When that's seen as like the garbage pile of DC films, like that is the worst DC film. It's like if you ask someone what's the worst DC film, a lot of people go straight to that. And you made less money than that. A lot of people are going to use that as a reason to forever say The Flash is the worst ever DC film, even though it's not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one's a fucking interesting one. There are rumors circulating that Bobert Iger
Bobbert.
is is interested in selling Disney. I have one fucking question. To who?
Well, here's the thing, right? It's happened before, hasn't it? Where they brought up potentially selling, and essentially no one wanted it, or no one could offer them what they wanted. So it got
Let's be
scrapped.
clear. Disney should not have been able to buy Fox.
No.
That antitrust laws should have stopped that from happening. I don't know how they didn't. And with all of the heat on this Microsoft Blizzard deal,
Yeah.
there are going to be people screaming from the rooftops if anyone comes in to buy Disney about,
would
okay, do you want to have a
literally-
look at that? Can you think of any company that has enough money to buy Disney that doesn't also own some kind of other media that would instantly make it a monopoly?
Because, like, the only thing I can think now, Amazon Prime has some shows, but I would say out of all the streaming platforms, it's kind of like the smaller one.
It's also the fastest growing, though.
Yes. Like, they're the only person, Amazon is the only person that I can think maybe would have the money.
I mean, no, they absolutely could afford to do it, but there is no way they'd be allowed to do it.
But this is the thing. It doesn't matter that, like, if someone was like, well, their media size compared to others is not that huge, so they're not taking a monopoly in the stream. It's like, yeah, but they're taking a monopoly in just economy. So, like, they're not going to be allowed. People were saying, like, oh, Apple could buy it. Apple doesn't give a shit about Disney.
But no, forgetting that, do you really, really want Apple to have control over Disney?
No.
Like, ladies and gentlemen,
because do you know what would
we
happen?
have an entire genre of fiction about why companies getting too big is a bad idea.
Well,
it's called cyberpunk dystopian, where you have these mega corporations and there are 3 of them and they make all of the decisions. Governments don't even exist anymore. That is what we're headed towards.
Do you know the people that were saying Apple should buy it? They are Apple fanboys because to them it will make no difference. For the general person who doesn't have Apple everything, like they don't bleed Apple like a normal sane person. If Apple bought Disney, you know for a fact Disney Plus would only be available on Apple TV. And then it's like instantly like, what the fuck? It's the only people that would be allowed to buy Disney would have to be some third party businessman that has oil money and no ties to anything else, and they go, yeah, okay, he can buy it.
But again, is this the kind of person we want running Disney?
Well, yeah, no, at the end of the day, it's like the only person who can buy Disney and take it over is just another Bob Iger.
But at the same time, Disney's 169 billion. That's how much that's its current market cap. So to sell Disney, you'd need someone to come up with an offer greater than 169 billion, so that when the shareholders get paid out, they're happy.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. There's no one's gonna offer Disney what Disney wants,
unless they're willing to sell it on pennies on the dollar.
No one will come to Disney with an offer that Disney likes, so then Disney won't sell. And do you know what will happen? They won't sell, so then they'll go, all right, the board will go, we need someone new at the top then to make us money. See you later, Bob Iger. In comes another, I don't know, Donnie that's got.
So there's only one person who can really, according to their net worth, afford Disney, and that's Elon Musk.
I was about to say that's Elon Musk. And his net worth is only that because he owns Twitter. So he would have to sell
45 billion.
He would have to sell Twitter. Actually, I like this idea. Elon.
Do you really want that motherfucker in charge of the MCU and Star Wars?
I can think of worse people.
I would rather lose Twitter than have Star Wars, because you got to remember. I know everyone complains that Star Wars has gone woke. Star Wars has always been anti Elon Musk rhetoric. Can you imagine if he got in control of Star Wars? All of a sudden, the Empire would be the good guys. Unironically, he would make the Empire the good guys. He probably thinks Darth Vader is the good guy.
The thing is, though, he would be taking over from Bob Iger, and he's not going to have any power and any control.
I
Do you know? Well,
what can I
let's
say without getting us in trouble?
Let's be realistic. Elon Musk, even if he was like he's never going to want it because he already says he's doing too much.
Well, yeah, he's working 37 hours a day. Like, come on.
The man hasn't got time to run Disney. He's got to fix Twitter first.
But yeah, there's no way Disney can be sold unless they were to break it off into parts. Unless they sell off Marvel and Star Wars and
I think the only thing they could do is if they sold off certain rights.
Yeah, they'd have to break it up.
The only stuff that I could see is they'd be willing to if they sold. I don't see them wanting to sell any of the Marvel MCU connection stuff because it's that's making them. Although we like to say there's too much stuff and their views are down and stuff, they still make it. It's still printing them money. Star Wars, maybe they would consider breaking Star Wars off.
So I've just Googled it quickly, and obviously these are rough estimations. Don't take them as gospel.
Yeah.
So Disney's worth an estimated 170 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel is estimated to be worth about 53 billion. So still not easy to get hold of.
No.
And Star Wars is estimated to be somewhere between 5 and 10 billion. Which is pretty easy for most. But in this economy, when everyone seems to be trying to find a way to bring money in and cut costs, who's spending 10 billion on Star Wars? Who wants to have to deal with Star Wars fandom and pay 10 billion for the privilege?
I'm trying to think who is loved that might also be able to collectively get together 10 billion.
I just realised it wouldn't be Star Wars they're buying, it'd be Lucasfilm, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be everything under Lucasfilm, which would be the Lucasfilm Studios, Lucasfilm VFX.
Lucasfilm value. I can't see that as easily. I think because that's got Indiana Jones and stuff underneath it, as well as their game division. It's
and all the VFX division. Yeah,
it's probably close towards that 10 billion estimate.
Who would we want Lucasfilms to go to?
Me.
Other than us,
Luke.
What celebrity with money?
None of them. They're all pieces
Andy
of shit.
Serkis.
There is not a single person who has that amount of money who I trust. There is not a single person on this planet who is worth $10 billion or more that I think is a good human being. I don't think it is possible to accumulate that much wealth and not be a piece of shit. Hot take.
What about a collective of people?
Well, that's different, isn't it? Because at that point, you're just setting up a company to buy Lucasfilm.
What if Adam Savage resets up a company called Mythbusters and gets all our favorite celebrities under it to pitch in their money, and they collectively buy back Lucasfilms? Let Disney do a solid, be kind for once, and just give it Dave Filoni.
Give it Dave Filoni to the end of the season.
Just say, here you go. This is your redundancy package, Lucasfilms.
But yeah, it's there's no way to sell Disney.
No, it's a wild rumor.
I have no idea where the fuck that's come from.
There is also rumor at the same time as they're gonna scale down Disney Plus, and it's I think this is all just coming from that one thing where Bob Iger mentioned they're reducing spending on Marvel and Star Wars. So then everyone's like, oh shit, Disney's in trouble. And it's like, no. They're not going to sell.
Yeah, this is not going to happen. And if they are, it'll just be breaking parts off.
Yeah. Bit like what Warner Bros. Is saying they're going to do. So
yeah. But it's a fucking weird thing anyway. Anyway, San Diego Comic-Con.
yes.
It started. There's only
Today.
a little bit of news that we've seen so far.
Yeah, there's been one major panel, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
As we kind of said earlier, probably it was scaled back. I imagine it was, they showed another
concept art.
Yeah, I think they showed a teaser, which is the Barbie X Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles little teaser advert. They showed concept art, then they had some discussion where they explained like the style was done as if like a kid had drawn Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I think they've achieved. Looks sick.
Yeah, it looks very cool.
Guess they probably would have had the actor, like the 4 kids on, and maybe that would have been, but like, and maybe some of the other actors, like Seth Rogen,
to answer questions and stuff.
But like,
that ain't happening.
Yeah, that's obviously not happening and scaled down a bit. Other than that, there's been Ahsoka. Yeah, there's been Ahsoka props on show. We got to see
Which looks sick.
Yeah, we got to see Chopper. There's a picture of Chopper floating about.
My boy.
And like Sabine's helmet and Ahsoka's outfit, which is very cool. They always love doing that stuff at Comic Cons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what else was.
Well, we've been given a date for the Borderlands movie, which has Jamie Lee Curtis, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, and others. Which is due August 9th next year, 2024.
Be interesting to see how well that does.
I want this film to be good.
Same.
I think it has got the cast to be good.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is how long it's taken them to get here. They stopped filming this 4 years ago.
Well, yeah, because
they like finished filming it.
It went through a rough, like everything. COVID hit hard, and it's like and delayed it badly. So,
no, I want it to be. I want it to be like the Dungeons and Dragons film.
Yes, do what it needs to, and don't try and overreach.
Yeah, if it hits that vibe, I think the film will be very, very good. Because let's be honest, that's all Borderlands feels like. It feels like a bunch of friends being idiots.
Yeah.
So hit that vibe and you'll be fine.
Yep.
And then on the 29th of September, the first 3 episodes of Gen V, the boys spin-off, is coming out, and Hori's very excited. He's just so excited for more boys content.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch Gen V, not watch any of the boys.
You'll probably be confused as fuck.
It's fine.
Talking of people saying they need to watch stuff and then watching it, I'm nearly at the end of season 3 of Rebels.
Yes, so
I'm loving it. I told you eventually, like I'd sit down and force myself to watch a couple of episodes, and then it'd be like there, and then I'd be like going through.
I've been loving your role and commentary in our little Star Wars spoilers chat. Especially like, why is this Blue Donny so obsessed with other people's culture?
Yeah,
it's probably one of my favorite. And then he was like, "Hang on, is this guy just the British Empire?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Yep."
Gives big British vibes.
He does.
Turns up, destroys your navy, takes your culture's importance, and refuses to elaborate.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm excited for you to
I'm not looking forward to whatever fate befalls Kanan.
Don't know what you mean.
No one even seems to be discussing him as an opportunity to join the Ahsoka show. And
I
have no idea why.
I'll just wait.
I can't imagine it's good.
I'll just wait.
I'm also a little bit confused. Obviously, I'm sure it'll get elaborated on. But at the end of the second season, Ahsoka fights Darth Vader. Fucking awesome.
Yes.
And they think she's dead, but we see at the end of that episode that she doesn't die. And obviously, I know from having watched other stuff that she doesn't die. I don't know why she hasn't reached out to be like, "Hey guys, I'm alive." So I'm a bit confused by that.
That will be explained.
It was hype as fuck when I saw Maul. Also in that double parter, where like we see this old guy like walking around. I'm like, interesting. I think I know who that is. And then you get the reveal, and I'm like, fuck yeah, baby.
That, like, the mole reveal in Rebels, I'm so glad they brought him into the show, and he gets like his little bit of extra
Maul is
life,
the fucking goat.
like just to, because like we hadn't had him come back since the last time we saw anything of him was in Clone, like in the animated Clone Wars, like I bet,
Yeah.
like other than the film, obviously.
Well, it's crazy because you would have had a bunch of people who only watched the live action films. They went to see Solo and they're like, the fuck is Maul doing? And then everyone who watches everything is like, fuck yeah, Maul. And they're like, what do you mean Maul? He died in fucking episode one. I was like,
Yeah.
like, fuck, did he, bitch?
Yeah. There's so much more to his story that like a lot of people don't know. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so excited for you to get into these next. I think is there 2 more seasons or just 1?
Well, there's 4 seasons, so I've got like a season and 2 episodes.
Okay. So yeah, this next season is gonna get juicy.
Yeah. Very, very excited. Should we get into the content championship?
I think we should.
This is going to be
Hey, you've not made it easy this week.
a headache.
You've really not made it easy this week.
At the time, I thought I was like, "Oh, these are going to be thrilling conversations," and
And
then
now
I
you're
see it,
dreading
and
them.
every week I'm like, "Ugh,
Why did I do this to us?
yeah, what?"
Honestly, this might be one of the worst ones
Yeah, no,
to put us
100%.
through.
So, content championship this week is Return of the Jedi versus Batman. As always, we will discuss them over 6 topics: personal relevance, how well has it aged, rewatchability, story, acting, cinematography. And I can already see where the issue is going to lie. So let's get right into it. Would you like to kick us off with the personal relevance for you, Mr. Sontal? I know you were there on the opening night of the Jedi.
Do you know what's wild? I know my parents went to a premiere of one of the Star Wars films, but I can't remember which.
83 was Return of the Jedi.
Might have been more. It might have been. I don't know. But personal relevance.
I've just Googled that to see that, and I've just seen the budget was like 43 million for that.
It's like a drop in
43 million produced that masterpiece.
Yeah. Oh, masterpiece. You saying this one already? Anyway, personal relevance. I mean, Return of the Jedi is like the peak of Star Wars memory. Like that, as a youngster watching Star Wars for the first time, like that ending in episode 6, and you know that's the end of that little trilogy, and it's like that is everything kind of wraps up in such a nice way. And it's like what hooked like it's the end of a trilogy that hooked me into Star Wars. So it's like huge personal relevance, got me in love with the world, the franchise, the universe of Star Wars. The Batman. Fucking beautiful film. I love the character of the Batman. I've always said it's one of my favorite DC characters. Loved that we got to see a new look. It's so hard though, because it's like the personal relevance for the Batman is like was while we were doing this podcast, so it was a good chunk of like we discussed it a lot. We went and saw it, like it was a build up and all this.
It was the first big thing we had that was like new on the podcast as well.
Yeah, because we started.
It was like episode 10,
something like that. Yeah, because we started after Spider-Man. This was like the first big film.
Yeah,
and it's like there was a lot of build up to that film, and it smashed expectations, like our expectations, and it's tough. It really is tough. I think for me, I lean towards Return of the Jedi just because of like the age of it, and like it really got me into Star Wars. That's like one of the main major reasons of why I got hooked.
Yeah. Personal relevance. Return of the Jedi is iconic.
Yeah.
It is the perfect conclusion to potentially the greatest sci-fi trilogy of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's fucking good. Like even the complaints from the time, like adults at the time, like, oh, Ewoks were a bit dumb, but growing up as kids, which is how old we were when we saw it, fucking love Ewoks. All of the I'm pissed we haven't had more Ewoks.
Yes.
That's my complaint.
Justice for Ewoks. I will strike for Ewoks.
And I mean, yeah, Return of the Jedi is something you see when you're younger, potentially before you're old enough to go to the cinema for the first time. And like, yeah, it's a canon event, Hori.
It is a canon event in my lifetime.
People like me and you don't grow up to make a podcast like this and not have a deep love for Return of the Jedi.
That's the thing, right? It's like people get a love for sci-fi and they see one of two franchises when they're young. They either watch Star Wars and fall in love with sci-fi, or they watch Star Trek and fall in love with sci-fi.
Star Wars versus Star Trek. Tale as old as time.
It's like you watch either one of those as a youngster and you fall in love with the theme and worlds of sci-fi. So yeah, you're totally right. It's a canon event.
Yeah, it is absolutely. Whereas Batman, as far as I'm concerned, is the greatest live action version of Batman we've ever had.
I would
agree. And I get like it's very different to the Christopher Nolan films, which are also stunning. But we got to see more of what makes Batman so unique in his detective skills rather than just a superhero with really good action.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so much better for me. And I mean, let's be honest, Robert Pattinson fucking slays in that role. And that's before we even get on to like the secondary cast.
Do you know what's it is? And it's Return
Andy
of the Jedi.
Motherfucking Circus.
Yeah. Return of the Jedi was a canon event for us. The Batman was a canon event for the podcast.
It's rough. I do think personal relevance does have to go to Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But it's not like it blows it out of the water. It's just the nature of what Return of the Jedi is.
It was first.
Yeah. How well it's aged. I mean, I think there's an obvious winner for this purely because nothing has aged as well as the original Star Wars trilogy.
Agreed.
I still watch them to this day, and I'm baffled by how well the practicals and the puppeteering and everything holds up.
Yeah.
It is beyond insane.
It's considering other films in that period look so dated now in their like VFX or how they've done practical.
But it's like you look, what's it called?
Clash
of the Titans, the 1981 film. That at the time was one of the like most impressive put together films. And you look at that now and you're like, oh my god, that looks like shit. And that was like as impressive as Star Wars at the time, but Star Wars has aged well, and that is what everything else looks like.
Yep. It's the fact that like the use of practical and props and miniature like has played off. And also just the story of that trilogy as the years have gone by and people have really looked and like reflected on it more. Like you really see there's such a like great story told across that trilogy. Yes. And so many like little things that people have realized like, oh shit. Like everything did balance out. Like he was the balance of the force and stuff like that. And it's like, and I mean, for Batman, he's not really had time to age in the great, like, it was a great film, still is a great film, but it's only been out like
will age well.
But... Yeah. It's only been out a year. So
yeah. Give it time to actually age, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Rewatchability. Again, Star Wars wins because it's been being rewatched for nearly just over 40 years.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like I've rewatched Star Wars multiple times and binged all of them in a rewatch. And it's like Yeah, I'd happily sit down and rewatch Batman, but I haven't yet.
So these are just the nature of them heavily weighted towards Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I would say personal relevance is probably the closest.
Yeah.
How well it's aged is just a landslide because Star Wars is never ever going to lose a how well it's aged battle, especially the
No.
original trilogy. Rewatchability. Before Batman 2 comes out, I will rewatch the Batman again because it's a fucking masterpiece.
Before
But
Penguin comes out.
yeah, Star Wars is probably the franchise I've rewatched the most, and I'm not a big rewatcher.
Yeah. Oh, I've sat down and watched like at least all 6 episodes back to back.
May the 4th is a thing for a fucking reason, ladies and gentlemen. And I follow that holiday like a goddamn tradition. I watch something Star Wars related as a minimum every May the 4th.
There we go.
But now we get to the next 3.
Yeah, which is where this is going to get interesting.
Yeah.
And difficult.
Story.
It's so hard. Because it's like the Batman, great story on its own. Great story. Really sets up the character, the deal with the Riddler, like they're all well written, dealing with a villain. We got to see this new Batman, detective skills, we got to see Gotham, we got to experience what this world was. Great film. Return of the Jedi. Great end to the trilogy. Great story to wrap up. Like the way the story was wrapped up. But it does kind of need the other two to really appreciate the story. You need to watch all 3.
If you just watch Return of the Jedi and you've never seen any other Star Wars property, you are going to be confused as fuck.
It comes in at the end of a story that is spanned across 3 films, and taking it on just its own, while yes, it wraps up the trilogy amazingly, and it is a great end, and there's a lot of redemption and all that. On its own, you need the other 2. Like it unfortunately also relies on the whole story.
It absolutely does. Again, this is like the inverse of the personal relevance.
Yeah.
Yes, Batman wins, but it's not a smoke show. It is just the way it is.
Yeah. Because we're just taking Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Acting, I think, might be as easy as how well it's aged here.
Yeah.
The acting in Star Wars, while it was never bad, it is not the level of acting performance we get out of the Batman.
No.
There are levels to this game, and while I love Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, everyone with all of my heart, they were not asked to pull as many emotional beats and important, tense, dramatic moments. It's a bit more. There's a bit more Shakespeareanness to
Yes.
Star Wars, which gives it a slightly hammed up feel at times, which isn't a bad thing because it works, but it means the acting isn't as seamless and therefore, in my opinion, isn't as good.
I would agree on that. And I think, I don't think anyone can deny that the story is what carries Star Wars to be so great. The acting is good. It's obviously like the acting's not bad because otherwise, like it wouldn't work. But like the acting is not this like incredible like top like actors and actresses pushing themselves to be like.
I think we can say. I think the best way I can put it is everyone who was a major part of Return of the Jedi has had other acting roles where they acted much better. And you don't look at Return of the Jedi as their best acting performance.
No.
But I look at the Batman, and that's Robert Pattinson's best acting performance.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis always delivers. Colin Farrell,
Yeah.
phenomenal. Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
it's not like, other than Robert Pattinson, maybe it's not anyone else's best acting performance, but it's definitely one that would be in the discussion.
Yeah. I would agree.
And I think that's the fairest way I can put it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Sure.
Cinematography, visuals, etc. It's not a discussion, is it?
I don't think so.
Batman is just
so
damn pretty.
It's so tough because essentially the fundamentals of what makes both films, why Star Wars has aged so well and why Batman looks so great, is their mix of practical, miniature. Well, in Star Wars they use miniatures in that way because they didn't have the VFX the same.
Yeah.
Batman uses VFX, uses the virtual stages. But it does a lot of practical, like a lot of the car chase.
Practical and then touched up.
Yeah. Also, I think just Star Wars has its look about it, but the Batman really defined its own visual feel of what Gotham feels like and what this film.
Yeah, the use of color.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you don't think of Batman as a particularly colorful film, you actually think about the use of the red and the green
and the yellow
and everything throughout. It is so well put together. It is art instead of nerd art. And I don't mean that to diminish Star Wars in any way, because I fucking adore Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But Batman was done with a purely artistic approach to it visually.
Mm-hmm.
They just, the people who are in charge of the visuals have turned up to make art. They don't give a fuck if it's a superhero film or the next Oscar winner. They're turning up to make art.
Yeah, the director and the lead of production, like, they've turned up to make a visually, like, to produce a beautiful looking film, whether it gets awards or not. And they're using every bell and whistle that they can to achieve what, like, the best that they can. There's a reason I bought the art book for the Batman so quickly.
Yes.
Like,
and like even the use of like long continuous shots for combat.
mm-hmm.
And like after the car chase, when Penguin's upside down, you see the Batman walking towards you upside down to mimic the hanging upside down of a bat. Just like the choice of shots are just so important as well. But what that means is what I fear has happened is Star Wars has done a clean sweep on the first three, and Batman has done a clean sweep on the second three.
I have a lean to.
Okay, what this comes down to is, do you lean more towards your own personal bias, which is fine to admit, or do you lean more to the three that are more objective? I think I know which way you're going to lean.
As it is our show,
I
lean to the personal bias of Return of the Jedi.
As do I, as much as it hurts.
More so as well, because like, Batman is amazing, but it feels more wrong to send Return of the Jedi home.
It does. It feels dirty to have such a nerdy podcast and just send Return of the Jedi packing round.
Like, the Batman is amazing. And in 10 years, maybe I would lean Batman's way because it's got time to age. But right now, like, it's like Star Wars has the years on Batman that, like, you can't compete against.
Do you know what it is? Batman's just exited its recency bias phase. So now the nostalgia bias from Star Wars is more powerful again.
Yeah.
It feels dirty sending either of these home when we've when we've got X-Men Origins Wolverine in one of the rounds. It feels dirty sending this home, any of these home.
Do you know what this is? This is our upset of the bracket.
I don't think this will upset anyone.
No, it's just the upset of the bracket in general.
Oh, yeah, we are just upset.
Yeah, we are upset. that this has happened.
But Return of the Jedi does go through to the next round. And actually, it creates an easy matchup on the other side, so that's fine.
I feel like either of those went through, it would have been an easy matchup.
Yes, you're not wrong. Partially because you've not seen what it goes up against in the next round.
It's going to be a terrible one, isn't it?
Next week.
Okay.
Don't
say it's another hard one.
It's actually not that hard.
Oh, okay. Is it a whitewash and you've not realised?
No, it's not a whitewash either. It's just not nice. It feels dirty again. Bad Batch versus the 90s animated Spider-Man cartoon. I'm pretty confident which one will end up winning that, but it still does feel dirty no matter what.
Yeah.
When we've got X-Men Origins Wolverine through to the next round.
Yeah, but Hugh Jackman. That's the only reason. He's carrying it.
But we'll see you next week, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Next week's going to be pretty busy.
Yeah,
we're going to have Secret Invasion episode 6.
Yes, finale.
We'll have Oppenheimer. You're going to see Oppenheimer.
I'm going to try to go this week. We'll see if I manage to make that happen.
Yeah. So we'll probably have at least my Oppenheimer review. Maybe me and Hori will have a proper Oppenheimer discussion. I will give a Barbie review.
So yeah, we might end up keeping it to just a Barbie review or wait.
Yeah, and then do Oppenheimer the week after. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so we got some stuff for next week.
Plus,
we're also
San Diego Comic-Con. All the news from that.
We'll have all the news from that. We're also getting close to something.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, next week might be the preview of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because it comes out the following Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, so we might be final thoughts on that.
But yeah, we're getting to places, people. So we will catch you next week. Make sure you're liked up, make sure you're subscribed up, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.